All right, welcome back to the program. Final hour on this Monday before the big storm, under a blizzard warning, or at least a winter storm warning, depending upon where you are in our listening area. It looks like everybody's going to get snow from this, even the Cape and the islands and everything else. So I'm still waiting to hear if there's school tomorrow. I haven't heard that. I know Tim had some other stuff about parking bans and all of that, but I've not heard any kind of indication at this point as to whether or not there's going to be school. Still waiting to hear from the superintendent's office, too, as to whether or not New Bedford schools will be participating in this walkout on Wednesday. And maybe a moot point with the weather anyway, but I've not gotten anything back on that yet. If I do get something within the course of this hour, I'll pass it on to you. All right, we're going to kind of switch gears here because there's been an awful lot of discussion since last week about the possibility of the city of New Bedford joining a class action lawsuit going after some of these pharmaceutical companies that produce these opioid-based drugs. Councillor Gomes, who was chairman of the City Council's Public Safety Committee, filed a motion before the council last week to explore that possibility. And a lot has been said since that time. The mayor was on the program last week, as usual, on Wednesday afternoon, and indicated that he might support such a move, but said it's got to have some benefit to the city other than just being a quote-unquote headline grabber. So Councillor Gomes took exception to that insinuation that he might be looking for headlines, and he's had a few things to say about all of this. The mayor spoke more about the opioid crisis during his State of the City address last week as well. So Councillor Gomes asked me for a chance to come in today and rebut some of what he's hearing out there, and what he says is some misinformation about all of this discussion, and wants to set the record straight on what he's trying to do. And he's with us in the studio right now. Anytime you ask, you got an open door. So
thank you very much, and the station's always been an open door, and I appreciate that. Let me first say that this council has a special love for the city of New Bedford, which I grew up in, and nobody can take that away. And I will continue to love my city and give my city love back, because our city needs a little love, needs a little hope. But to clarify some issues, let's start off first of all. Last week, and during the course of the weekend, as I attended a couple of fundraisers, it was brought to my attention and about me being a Democrat and possibly switching over to Republican or Independent or something like that. Nonsense. Fake news. Fake news, nothing of the sort. I'm a Democrat. I've been brought up as a Democrat, but I also am a person of myself. And when I feel something is right to do, you do. And to start picking and choosing on who is the best candidate, if I think someone is the better candidate for the Commonwealth or for this city in some way or the other, and I'm not into giving endorsements, I will do so. And I have in the past. And I've taken a lot of heat from it, but I still stand at the top of the hill. So the heat that I took was just a selected few that wanted to bang me. But I just wanted to rest that issue down, that there's no switching of any party. I'm not going independent. I'm not going to Republican. I thank Brock Cadero for his offer with the application ready for me to go Republican. That's not going to happen. Now, if I supported Republican candidates, yes, I have. There's no lie from this councilor, and I'm not afraid to stand up, as I said, for who it is. But the issue, there's a couple of other issues that I would like to discuss this afternoon. Number one is exactly what transpired on that lawsuit, and I took offense to the comments when the man. Now, you know, when I filed that was back so many weeks ago. It only went on the agenda that last Thursday. I'm not aware of what the mayor has to say during his... Before you do the reaction to it, tell the folks what it is that you're proposing, and then tell us what the reaction was that... the proposal... what is exactly that you're asking the city to do here? It was a written motion, Councillor Gomes, requesting that Mayor Mitchell and the city solicitor begin the process of filing a lawsuit against the pharmaceutical companies that produce opiates and kill opiate painkiller medication. Based on the damage done to our community, the lives that have been lost, the epidemic of overdoses, in addition to the calls of service from EMS, police, fire, along with the destruction and the deterioration of our city's people and community, and further that the city solicitor asked the state for records of pharmaceutical companies that have done business in the state, along with records of area doctors that may have over-prescribed opiate drugs in the greater New Bedford area. This request of this lawsuit comes in before the community comes in like before the community, and I'm taking this action on behalf of the city. My whole point here is I didn't hear anything about this before I said something. I say something, all of a sudden we've been working on it. I understand that's your job. But to take a pop shot at me and, you know, this is a headline grabber, I can get a headline any damn day I want. I've been around here long enough. I know the media, and if I have something to say to the media, I will say it to the media. And if the media wants something from me, I'm up there 100% of the time, unless I'm just sick or I can't get to a phone at the time. So the mayor says what he says about a headline grab. That's not what this was about. This was about joining forces across this country and making some people accountable for the destruction and the deterioration that they have done to a city like ours. I travel throughout this city and I see the people. I hear the sisters, I hear the mothers that cry in the supermarket or on their front porch about, can we do something about this? I'm going to lose my sister. Now, I don't want to take pain medicine again. That's another issue that I want to address. And I'm not taking the pain medicine away from people who need it. What I'm saying is those that overprescribed, if you did it in our city, well, you have to go somewhere else because you were part of it. And what I did at the city council meeting, I refreshed everybody's memory of the pain clinic that was located in one of the most prominent neighborhoods in the city of New Bedford, the corner of Nye Lane, I think it is, and Acushnet Avenue. Does everyone remember that? I remember when the feds went in there and busted that place up because of the overprescribing of the drug, the opiate painkiller. Everybody forgets that several years ago. Doctor was taken into custody. Good doctor. I think a good doctor that just got messed up into all this as it came along. They shut down the place. The building is not there. So we had a pain medicine right out going on in this city back several years ago. I want to hold people accountable. The companies have made billions and billions of dollars. For you to sit here and say that we're not going to get nothing from this, I'm going to fight for my city. You did the damage. The companies, the doctors who wrote out these scripts, they did it all along the East Coast from Florida up to here. If you've watched some of these documentaries of these places that changed their name from American pain medicine to this, to that, moved from community to community, destroyed those communities, selling these drugs, having people from up here going down there, traveling in vans of 8, maybe 12 people going in, having scripts wrote out, getting 200 pills right there on site, putting them back into the hands of the drug dealers and sending them across this epidemic of this pain medicine has hurt not only those that are into the drugs, but those good people.
But what you're talking about here are criminal operations.
And you have said that no one told you to take the drug or whatever. I'm in total agreement with you on that. But when you prescribed it for me and it felt so good and I got hooked after my operation, whatever it was, I was on my way. I was because this drug is not only pain, it takes over the mind. And there's a problem here. And my whole point is here, they own us. We have an obligation as a city to join forces and go after whatever it is.
But you got a whole bunch of different topics here, and let's try to explore them all.
Okay.
So what you're talking about is you're talking about people who are corrupt that are out there peddling this medication for profit. That's a totally different situation than Dr. Smith downtown, who under the law was prescribing medication to the best of his ability, and based on his knowledge, people got addicted to that because a lot of these companies were misleading as to what these drugs would do. But in terms of these big companies that you're talking about up and down the East Coast that are changing their names and selling the drugs, I mean, that's something the Attorney General should be going after anyway, right? I mean, shouldn't we be all
we
over
should have been going after this years ago. This city councilor and the New Bedford City Council addressed this issue 3 years ago, or maybe even 4 years ago, because I know when ran for re-election this last time, it was one of the topic issues that were discussed during debates. The 2 years before that, it was and we were one of the first to say that the pharmaceutical companies should be held accountable. And I know in my heart, or I feel it when I see looking around the community, they were responsible. And when I talk about doctors who are overprescribing the medication, there is no one going to tell me that it hasn't been done. All I'm looking for is for someone to investigate, whether it's the Attorney General or whatever. How much of this stuff was being prescribed?
Well, there's black marketing stuff going on, yes. But that's different from the local doctors that are...
I'm talking about maybe a local doctor. We had a local doctor. What did I just explain? That we had a pain clinic going on up the North End that no one knew about till the feds went in there and busted it up.
But any doctor that's prescribing these medications, I mean, we can't. If they were doing it
he's
legally,
doing it. That he or she is doing it based on his knowledge, what is good for the patient, what is good for the outcome after the procedure. What is the problem is when we continue to ride that, and what the benefits were to some, we don't really know. But I kind of have a feeling that some things went somewhere. All I'm saying is, if it is happening, it's got to be cleaned up. And if we have somebody here, I wanted to look into it. That's all I was saying. We've got great doctors in this area. Great doctors give great service, great patient care.
I just don't want to. Right. I'm glad you're saying that, because I don't want to broad brush everybody. And because a doctor prescribed a medication, somebody got addicted to it. That is not what this counselor was. That's not what this counselor was saying. I was saying those that did it intentionally, because there was either some kind of payback, whatever it was, who knows, money making, whatever. Yeah,
because
absolutely.
the root of all evil is the money, and that's what has been the root of all evil.
But where does personal responsibility enter all of that?
Personal responsibility should always be there, but I believe that once the drug takes a hold of you, we've put that mindset into a whole different atmosphere, and they really need the help of the professionals and those that can either relieve them from this. You know, taking them off opiate drugs or putting them on some other drug. This is in great detail of what has happened in our city. But to not sit back and just say, okay, we're not going to do anything. And I look around the city and I've got people walking downtown talking to themselves, got people arguing, got people that will steal anything, damage anything to and cause havoc within the business community, and it goes on and on for the dope. I'm not sitting by. You own me. You own our city something here. Yeah, and I want whatever it is.
Have you ever had a painkiller prescribed to you for anything?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have. And I'm one of those. I'm one of those that always have said to many people out there, use them responsibly. Did not use them. Did not use them.
So you chose not to use them at all?
Chose to not use them because because of the feeling. I remember the first time I took Percocet and almost passed out in a bathroom because of what the effects were, and never liked it. Never liked that feeling. Don't like the feeling of anything that controls your body or begins to control or whatever. And as I said, this drug, I think it controls not only the pain relief and make you feel good, it just does something to
So you don't think those particular drugs, opiate-based painkillers, should even be available at all?
I think it should all be looked at. You know what the damages are, and how can you go on, and how do we let it continue to go on, knowing that it's so addictive. There's something in there that caused that. There's something in that medicine. Why isn't the pharmaceutical companies studying and looking into subtracting or adding or whatever it is? I'm not going to be the expert, but to make sure that this is a drug that's not seen. Great people get addicted. Great people right in our community. We've lost good people because of that medicine, and that medicine is an evil, and it's been an evil, and it's caused, as I said, a lot of havoc within communities such as ours, and ours has suffered very greatly from it. And
so what are you looking for?
I'm looking for the city solicitor and mayor to look into it. He says he's looking into it. Don't want him to drop it.
But I mean, do you think these companies should give us money to?
You darn right. I think they should give us money. They should give this whole country money. They made billions of dollars. It was running faster than the rain or the snow that can come down on a community. It was coming down, and nobody cared. And like, as I said, councilors like myself and the colleagues that I sit with, some of them 4 years going back, whether it's Councillor Coelho, Councillor Morad, some that have been there for a long time, Councillor Carney, we were addressing this issue. We addressed this issue. We were before anybody was even talking about who should be held accountable. We're not no smarter than anybody, but I know that we brainstorm, and when we see something, we react to it. And that's how I am. When I see something and I see something hurt, I react to it. It's not a matter of grabbing a headline or whatever. It's a matter of representing, doing what I have to do, and us as a city holding some people accountable, and I'll hold to that. We should hold them accountable, and I'm looking for some monies to be recouped so that we can put back into our community, maybe save some more people that under the...
Councilor Ribeiro suggested, I guess, at the meeting, at least based on what I've read about it, she wonders whether or not it's cost-effective. Can we afford to actually
cost-effective? Do we have lawyers within the city? Yes, we do. Can we appoint it? Do we have to go out and get a firm to represent the city? If it it got to that point. Well, yes, you do. But again, don't think you should have the ability to know that you're not going to come in here and take on this possible lawsuit on behalf of the city, and we're going to be your gravy train, that you're going to make more money, or you're going to get more money than what my community should receive. That's totally absurd, and I wouldn't support anything of the sort. What I would support is doing it the right way, going after them. And I know it might cost a little, but the return may be bigger than that. Some think that there is no return. I believe there is, and they own it to the communities what they destroyed.
All right, 508-996-0500 is the number if you'd like to weigh in on this. Let's go to the phones right now. You're first. Thanks for hanging on.
Thank you. Thanks for Mr. Gomes for doing what you're doing. Let me start off by saying that I'm someone who survived opiates, both from using it as recreation the beginning part of my early 20s, and then I had to get away from it when I was prescribed it through my injuries after I got hurt at work. So I know both ends of it. I know why I got involved with it, to use it as like a recreation, and I know why I got involved with it, to use it as my pain reliever for when I got hurt at work. So I understand a lot of part of it, about this stuff.
Look, can I ask you a question? Because I've never, I've always wanted to ask you this, and I never, because you've made this case before. So you started out using it as a recreational drug, and then you stopped, and then you got injured at work, and then you were prescribed these pills again. So my question was, that second time when you were prescribed these pills because you got injured, you knew what you'd been through and how addictive this was. So why did you take the pills?
I didn't know anything else that I could take to take care of my pain then. I didn't use cannabis back then for anything. I used cannabis as a kid. You know, I stopped using it when I was like 17. Then I started working and I used alcohol and pills. That's what I used because that's what doctors prescribe to everyone. So that's what I just did, even though I didn't get it from a doctor. Like I explained to you the other day, I know what my ailments were. I know why the people that I was working with, why they went to the doctors, why they got their pills. So it was just easier for me to get it.
But in essence, though, you had a second chance, and you chose to use.
Because now, the second time now I got hurt. I was legitimately and am legitimately hurt. Like I have really bad issues with my bones, with arthritis, a whole bunch of different things that happened to me during this accident, and I didn't know how to take care of my pain other than with what the doctors were giving me, and they were giving me Percocet, Vicodin, and Flexerol. Flexerol is like a wicked strong muscle relaxer. And the doctor told me to do one of each because of what I had done to my body prior. I would need to take a little bit more than usual. So I took one Vicodin, one Percocet, one Flexerol, and I didn't wake up for 18 hours. So when that happened, I went and got in touch with the doctor, and we had a discussion, and I told him that I never wanted that to happen to me again. And I started researching opiates then because I was already starting to take more than what I was supposed to for the pain. When I used them as recreation, I know what it did for my body. It made everything numb. It made everything more.
But you were addicted to it at that point, right?
I was addicted to it then, right? And then when I started using it for my pain, I wasn't addicted to it in the beginning. When I saw,
but you knew if you were addicted to it once, you were going to get. Let Councillor Gomes respond to what you're saying. Go ahead, Councillor.
Well, I'm listening to his story, and I've heard it before, and I congratulate him on recognizing what the problem was and how he had changed his life and had that opportunity. Some don't, but his story is very rewarding in some aspects of just how he dealt with it.
Yeah, I just see that this is when I talk about personal responsibility last week, this is where it was coming from. Here's a guy who'd been addicted to it, knew the dangers, and then made the choice to go back to it.
But was strong enough to make the recovery, to turn it around, or at least try to turn his life around. All
right, my friend, I'm going to hold you there so we can get another call in. You're up next on WBSM. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I want to make a comment, and I am absolutely on Councilor Gomes' side, okay? It's about time that these drug companies pay for what they've done. I mean, these drug companies have been pushing pills for years and years, okay? And you have to realize these doctors pushing pills, they get a percentage for every pill that they prescribe. They're not doing it because they love you. They want to see you not having any pain. They're making money on it. And I'm going to tell you something. 35 years ago, I got into a construction accident where my left hand was totally crushed, but I lost one finger, and I have no use of most of my left hand. I could have done all those opioids. I decided not to. I took over-the-counter prescriptions, okay, for one reason, because a few years before that, I had a younger brother that died of opioids. Okay, it's a choice. Okay, it's a choice. So you're telling me that because your back hurts, you got to take this incredibly strong pill to make sure it doesn't numb your back. It numbs your brain. You're after the high. You're not after the pain killing. Most of these people are after the high that these opioids actually give them. So it's a choice. Okay, I chose not to do it. Okay, and I was in a lot of incredible pain, but I just decided to go over the counter and just take those pills because I didn't want to get hooked on that stuff.
All right. So do you think the city should be pursuing a case against these drug manufacturers?
Absolutely. I mean, what's the difference between legal drug companies and illegal drug pushers? It's the same thing, except one is backed by the government because there's a lot of taxes involved in it, and there's a lot of people making money. What is the difference? There's no difference at all.
All right, let me hold you there, my friend. I've got to take a break. What do you think of that?
I understand what the man is saying very clearly. I understand our city, and we've got a problem, and I'm happy to hear some of the response that we should do this. Again, I don't want to get into a battle with the mayor of the city. What I'm going to tell you again, I've been sent here to represent, and I'm going to represent. And you don't like it? Well, then when election time comes is when we make the change. I've had the opportunity to be where I am for a long time, and I appreciate that and respect it, and I will continue to do the job that I'm doing. And it's just that simple. And when you want to take a pop shot at me, or you want to try to make something look a little silly or dumb, what I'm asking for in plain English, try to tell the people on this radio station I'm looking to find out how many ambulance calls and what this and we can't do this. We can't. What are you talking about? We can't do this. Every call should be recorded, just as we record every police call, and you should be, as the mayor, getting a report every week on what exactly has been going on. How many overdoses did we have? Whatever. That is the concern. You as the leader, you should know that. And if you don't know it, that's when it comes to the point where I said what I said the other night. You're not doing your job. And don't tell me that those figures are there or not there and they're hard. But those figures, that was thrown out to make it look a little dumb. We're going after them. How are we going to find out who the paramedic was, who drove the ambulance? I didn't ask for that. I'm telling you to give the concrete numbers. How many overdoses have we had? How many services rendered have we had? And that's not the only aspect that you go after a lawsuit. You go after a lawsuit for what you see around you. Look at the city. Look at some of these communities. Look at what is being affected. Yes, there are people out there trying to help and do the job. And respectively, Barry, those people, thank you very much, because they have a tough job too. And they see a lot of hurting, crazy things in our city. But don't try to shy away from it. I'm not in that business, and I'm not going to be in that business. And again, I don't need to grab a headline. I can grab a headline any given time. And I said it on the city council meeting that night. We can stop talking about the opiates. We can stop talking about the road conditions and everything. And I'll bring up some issues that will be big headlines to the city of New Bedford. I can do that any given day I want. I don't choose to play like that. I'm used to playing on an even feel.
Let me take a break. We'll come right back for some more calls. 508-996-0500. City Councilor Brian Gomes, the chairman of the Public Safety Committee, is with us. And we're talking about the opioid lawsuit that he'd like to join against Big Pharma. We'll be back after this. All right, 2:35. Welcome back to the program, and we just have been handed the official word that everybody has been waiting for. New Bedford Public Schools will be closed tomorrow. Feel like a salty Brian. No school, Foster, Gloucester.
The kids are doing flips.
Yeah, no school, public schools tomorrow, Tuesday, March 13th. Due to the weather, all school administrative offices in the Paul Rodricks Administration Building will also be closed. All after-school activities and evening classes have been canceled as well. You can go to WBSM.com and get a complete list of all of the updated cancellations at any point. And, of course, the latest ABC6 Weather Center forecast as well. All right, 508-996-0500. Back to your calls. You're next with Councillor Gomes. Go ahead.
Hi, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. I was just calling really quickly for my husband who had talked to you a few minutes ago about the opiates and everything.
Yes.
And how he had gotten addicted, but then went back to the doctors, and then he ended up, taking the opiates anyway again because he ended up getting hurt. The problem is, the whole point of the whole thing was, if the doctors give you the choice, when you go and see them, when you are hurt, when you're in so much pain you don't know what to do with yourself, they should give you the option of a natural healer, some kind of natural something to give to you as opposed to a Percocet or a Vicodin. Anything in nature that is natural, the doctors have that option to give you, but they don't. They never do. Why?
Yeah, I don't know enough about why they don't, but I think certainly they should explain a whole range of options.
Isn't that what they should do? Shouldn't they give you the option to do something natural that's non-addictive as opposed to giving you something that's addictive? Yeah. Does that make more sense?
Well, I think they should offer a whole range of options. Here's what's wrong with you. You're going to suffer pain for X number of months or X number of weeks or whatever. Here are your options for dealing with it. I can prescribe something like an opioid-based drug, or I could give you, extra strength Tylenol. There is even prescription Tylenol that you can get, and other natural remedies. Yeah, I think they should sit down and talk to you about the whole range of things.
So that's why they should be held accountable, because they don't do that. They don't give you the natural remedy. They don't give you the natural cure in nature. They give you all the man-made poisons, and that's not what we need. That's not going to get us better. We need nature to help us.
Anything you want to add to that, Brian?
I understand what the lady is saying, and all I can say to you is that you would expect the doctor to prescribe and give what is in the best interest of the patient. Watch the patient closely. Make sure there's nothing being overprescribed or putting them in any type of situation, and we take it from there.
All right, appreciate the call. Thank you very much. I want to grab another one. 508-996-0500. You're up next on WBSM with Councillor Gomes. Go ahead.
Hey,
Go ahead.
How you doing, guys?
Hi.
Hi.
It comes down to, like you said, there's no accountability anymore, okay? Everybody knew when we were kids cigarettes were no good. I knew they were no good when I started smoking at the age of 40. I quit at the age of 50. It'll be 11 years and 3 days from now when I have quit smoking on my own. But it took willpower and determination. I can't blame the tobacco companies. I chose to smoke, okay? I'm going to go back to 30 years ago. I cut 3 fingers off on a saw. I had a horrible accident. What did they do? They put me on Percocets. I thank God that I hated them and that they made me sick. I took them for 1 day. I want you to think about this. Your fingers get cut off. There's a lot of feelings at the end of your fingers. I took them for 1 day, and I threw them all out. And I found other ways to deal with the pain, to get through that. Only because they made me sick and they were horrible. I didn't like them. I don't feel as though they ever really did anything for the pain. But I know people go back. They choose to go back. They have a lack of will and a lack of accountability, okay? And it's like blaming the people who own the bar for the drunk driver, okay? Well, maybe they are a little bit accountable. And maybe some of these pharmaceutical companies are a little bit accountable. But not to the point where you're going to go after them and sue them and nail them because people don't have the willpower or any option or any other way to go but to keep going back for these drugs.
What do you think about the argument? Hold on a second. What do you think about the argument about willpower, Counselor?
We would hope that everyone has the willpower, but some people don't, and some people are weak as these things are prescribed, and it just puts them into a lot of trouble. I understand what the man is saying, but he also talked about accountability, and that's all I'm trying to do. I'm holding somebody accountable for the damages done.
All right, appreciate your call, my friend. 508-996-0500. You're up next with Councillor Gomes. Go ahead.
Yes, Councillor Gomes. I always like your discussions. But I want to make a point on this. if you sue the pharmaceuticals, you're not suing them. You're suing the people that pay for the pharmaceuticals. So you're going to end up paying out instead of having the companies pay out.
So in other words, the consumer is going to get hit with
Sure.
whatever awards are.
How do you think the company's going to get it? Just like they say, I'm suing the government.
Right.
And
Well,
and
who's the government?
ma'am, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if that is the case and scenario, and we're suing the pharmaceutical companies for the damages and the prescribing of this drug, and they're going to come back and go after the people, well, that's when Congress and our people in federal government have to step in, bring them on in, let's question them, just as they questioned that young man with that medicine that went from, I forget what the price was, $7 a pill
drunk.
or whatever, to $750 a pill. Totally absurd. Bring him on in, hold him accountable. He's being held accountable, and he's going to probably go to jail very shortly if he hasn't already.
All right, 508-996-0500. Got to grab the second break. Stay with us. 508-996-0500. You can be on with Councillor Gomes in just a moment. $245, 50 years ago, Brian.
Something else.
Whoops, 50 years ago. Hey,
Something
Jude.
else.
Wow.
Yep. Time has flown.
Yeah, my goodness.
A song that you hear, I don't care who you are, you hear it, there's a meaning to it. You can put yourself back into time. I tell you, listening to some of your music that you play, it just brings back great memories and great old times when things were just a little happier and
things
better.
were a little bit different. The music was a little bit different.
Every song had a meaning. Every song had a meaning. And if it didn't, you could change the names and it was part of you.
508-996-0500. We're talking about the serious business of the opioid crisis and whether the city ought to get involved in a class action suit against some of these manufacturers. And a lot of response to this. So let's get back to the phone lines with City Councilor Brian Gomes. You're up next on WBSM.
Hi, Barry. Hi, Councilor Gomes.
How you doing?
Good afternoon.
Good. Yeah, my question is pretty straightforward. What is the projection or possible estimate that this could cost us in our city solicitor or lawyers to pursue this lawsuit? What is the success rate? I'm going to answer these two questions. And is there any community out there that's had any success in actually recovering cash? And I'll leave you at that. I got to go.
I don't think there's any community out there that has received anything, at least that we've heard publicly or whatever. Again, estimate of the cost to do something like this, I can't give you them figures, but I would hope that we could do as much of it in-house as we possibly can. We're supposed to have that expertise in that office. So, and I know there's a lot of other things to do, and they'll tell you that, but there's always something to do when you run a city. And when
there are a number of big law firms that are inviting cities to get involved in a class action.
Yeah, again, but then them law firms are also looking out for their best interest.
Sure.
I might be better off giving a lawyer a job and tell him this is your focus. If you're good at what you do and you can bring home what we need you to do, you hire him and keep him in the city, than even taking on a law firm that's going to try to think that we're some kind of gravy train, which we are not for no one, and will be none.
9960500. You're up next with Councilor Gomes. Go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Giving these facts just to disparage the councilor's initiative, because I really think we have a problem. But last year in the United States, 480,000 people died from smoking-related illnesses. And, there was a class action suit against the tobacco companies. How many stores in New Bedford do you think people can go buy this poison legally?
How many? What was the question again?
Yeah, I think he's saying how many places can we...
People died in the United States
from smoking. Yep.
Okay, and how many stores in New Bedford can we still buy this poison? And we've had the class action suit.
I get you. Okay, I get your point. So, yeah. All right, thanks for the call.
I understand what the man is saying. He's saying how many stores still sell cigarettes, even though the class action suit has gone across. Well, it did what it did. The monies came back from wherever it did to whoever was involved. This is a matter of not only what we can get back, to get the companies to also adjust to, as we talked about earlier, taking some of that medicine out of that pill that is hurting people.
508-996-0500. You're up next with Brian Gomes. Go ahead. Hello, you're on the air.
Not there.
You're next on WBSM. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Brian.
Good afternoon.
Sir, you keep up the great work. You keep up the good fight.
Thank you very much.
You're a city councillor-at-large, and you should keep up the fight and keep up the good work. I support you, and I respect you dearly.
I fight for my city every day. I fight for my city every day, and I've done that since the time I came here. It's funny that this gentleman, I think that's Big Al, that just who I've known for a long time and has a great love for the city, and always been a people's pal. Our city is a good city, and our city deserves a fight, and we should be fighting what we think is in the best interest of the city.
508-996-0500. You're on the air with Councilor Gomes. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello.
You're on the air.
Hello?
I have a question for Councilor Gomes.
Yes, sir.
Have you done any consulting with any lawyers and to find out what the chances of being successful and what the cost will be? What the cost will be to the...
All right, we just talked about the cost. We don't know the cost. But what about success rate?
We don't know what the success...
Wait a minute. But
go ahead, sir.
And how much is the city supposed to spend to get all this information into a law firm for the law firm to decide if you have a case or not?
No, well, sir, no, I have not. I have not done that.
And why not?
Because I'm making a recommendation to the man that can do all of that, and to our city solicitor. That's what I'm doing, and I'm not sure where you're getting or where you're going with this, but you're asking me if I looked into this and talked to firms. I have not talked to any legal firm. This came as a motion on the city council to ask our mayor and our legal counsel to look into it, look into the possibilities of filing a lawsuit against a company that has put a lot of damage on our city.
Well, it's okay to throw a rocket out there, but like
you sound like the mayor. I'm throwing a rocket out there.
Right,
you sound like the mayor. I don't want to do this.
The idea of the motion in the first place was to ask the city lawyers to investigate what the cost would be.
Look into it and get it. And I don't want to be left behind. Other communities are doing it. We should have the same opportunity.
All right, 508-996-0500. You're next on WBSM. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Barry. Good
Hi.
afternoon, Councilor Gomes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, I can, Barry, the woman that called that wanted to know why doctors won't prescribe anything natural, I can answer that for you.
Okay.
Because they will not recommend anything that is not approved by the Food and Drug Administration.
Okay.
Because then they feel that if something should go wrong, they're liable. But I can give you a good case in point. A very good friend of mine, he had a thyroid problem where he had... if he didn't take the proper medication, he would gain weight. And he came in bloated one day. He was a vendor at Cushnet School where I worked, and he told me that he didn't order the natural ingredient which he gets all over the computer from a foreign country, and they ship it to him. So he said he had to wait for that special ingredient to add to his diet.
All right, but the bottom line here is that the FDA doesn't approve it, so the doctors won't.
So the doctors will not.
All right, I got to hold you right there, my friends. I'm up against the clock. Thanks for the call. 508-996-0500. I've got to take the last break. Stay with us, and we'll have time for a couple more calls right after this. right, welcome back. We've only got a few minutes left to go. Very, very important topic of opioids and whether or not the city ought to get involved in a lawsuit against the manufacturers of those drugs. But as you know, we've been trying to get an answer for the last 3 hours from the school department as to whether or not the New Bedford schools will be participating in this walkout in sanctioning this walkout that's scheduled to occur on Wednesday. And I've just been handed a release that says on Wednesday, March 14th, 2018, New Bedford's 3 middle schools and New Bedford High School will be commemorating the tragic events that took place at the Marjorie Stoneham Douglas High School. So in other words, the students at the 3 middle schools and the high school will be allowed to walk out of class and participate in this this national walkout that's being organized by a whole bunch of left-wing and progressive groups, quite frankly. And I don't know if you want to comment on this before we go back to our other topic. No, Brian's shaking his head. That's not my circus, not my monkeys, right?
Nope. Get to class. Stay in class. We understand very clearly what transpired in Florida. It's a Valentine's Day we'll never forget, and I can understand, but keep the kids in class. Let the adults do the work that needs to be done to make sure that them kids are safe across the city. If they're going to come out in the city of New Bedford on Wednesday, is it?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah. And they're going to recognize the tragedy, fine. If you're coming out for anything else, there's nothing else to be said.
Do it after school. Why have you got to interrupt the day? If you want to have a nice rally and everything to show support, do it after school.
This has all been worked in. As you said, there's different groups that are stimulating this whole thing, and I believe that we should hear from the kids. And as you know, at our city council meeting, when I talked about this just the day after, we had students from New Bedford High School who I have commended for not only being there, but saying what I was saying. It was way overdue.
All right, if the
kids are saying it, it's the right thing. Your bank is loaded.
They're dying to talk to you. 508-996-0500. You're up next on WBSM.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
I have a question for, with due respect to Mr. Gomes.
Yes, sir.
You're in the healthcare industry, correct?
Yes. Not anymore, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, then how long have you not been in there? Because you're talking about doctors prescribing. Let me tell you something. If we have a patient, or I shouldn't say we, but if we had a patient, or you had a patient, and they were on some kind of habituates, Xanax, whatever, do you know what the doctors and hospitals are doing today? They're telling you that you're going to have to go to pain management. We're not going to refill these prescriptions, or some kind of psychiatric help, which is, I don't mean craziness. Or
well aware of that, sir. Well aware of that. Well aware. It's been in effect for a little while.
Why do you think? Don't talk over me. Why do you think? That you're going to win a lawsuit such as that, which was frivolous, because the government can't win against these lobbyists, and you're going to win against a pharmaceutical company?
I'm not going to win. I'm looking for my.
All right, sir. Let me hold you on. You made your point, but I've got 30 seconds, and I want to give the councilor a chance to respond.
I'm looking for my city to win. That's all. I'm looking for my city to win. You're going to have the people that don't support whatever. I just know I'm doing my job and I'm fighting for my city, and I'll continue to fight for my city as long as I'm given the opportunity. I thank this gentleman for the call.
All right, appreciate your call, my friend. We'll have plenty of time to talk more about this. We can talk about it amongst ourselves, and we'll have Councilor Gomes back at another point. But we are out of time. We've got the news coming up, the latest on the weather and everything else, so stay tuned for all of that. Council, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It looks like we got a blizzard on its way. Everybody stay safe. Check on your neighbor. Stay off the roads. Let the city do its thing, and open up everything as fast as we possibly can. And again, just be safe. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, news is next. See you later. Be safe.